Hi, everybody. It's Jim Ostrowski back with a special edition of the Liberty Moving podcast. Back in Buffalo after Grand Rapids. You know, it's like the old joke, so Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? Back in Buffalo, I'm on the Buffalo waterfront. I mentioned, I think on Twitter, we have the best inland waterway in the country, but the political class kind of just pissed it away by wrecking the city. So yeah, and they blocked waterfront access for decades. I was actually part of the drive to clean that up a little bit right at the tail end. I'm not claiming any great credit because others worked on it, but my point is not about me. It's the Buffalo political class just, blocked off the waterfront. But just a real technical note there before I move on. I'm going to not going to turn the camera. I try not to get other walkers, but so this is Lake Erie, obviously. Well, not obviously, but this is Lake Erie. So you don't see the Buffalo River, it's down there. But so Lake Erie, you learned in 5th grade, empties into the Niagara, quote, river. It's not actually a river, it's a strait. Okay, that's a Jeopardy question. And the Niagara River goes into Niagara Falls, obviously, then Lake Ontario, and then the St. Lawrence Seaway, Atlantic Ocean. So it's the confluence of really one of the coolest lakes, not the biggest, but one of the coolest, Lake Erie, the Niagara River leading to the falls, and then you have the Buffalo River, which is a pretty big river, coming in as well. So I've been to the other places. I've been to, Cleveland. I've been to Baltimore. I'm trying to think of what else. Maybe something on the Mississippi, but we certainly blows away Cleveland and Baltimore. But so I'm going to just leave it at that. So I have nothing really. Let me switch this camera around. Nothing really profound to say. Hold on a second. I got the glare in my eyes. So, and I apologize. No selfie stick. I look like shit after 5 of the hardest days of my life. I'm still wearing the T-shirt I wore yesterday, so don't get too close to me. But I called this after-action report. This is not going to be an after-action report, but I am going to write up an after-action report. That's kind of what I do. I've done it in the past. I did it after Howard Stern. When you spend 2 years on something like I did with Stern, and it goes south, you want to sort of understand it, create a record of it. And I did that. I think I'm going to do it here. And I know there's some risk I'm going to be accused of being a sore loser or sour grapes or all these. By the way, sour grapes is one of those metaphors that's constantly messed up. Kind of like begging the question is constantly confused. So one thing you have to understand is I'm actually a journalist. So I have, if you look at my output, I'm putting out my bibliography, meant to get it out before the convention, meant to do a lot before the convention, but all resources are scarce. I think I'm going to end up with about 200 items in my bibliography, and I think you could call, I don't know, 10%, 20% actual journalism, certainly broadly defined. So, I'm a journalist. There were hardly any journalists at the convention, and I wasn't able to report on the convention because I was busy trying to win the nomination, which I lost on the third ballot, in case people hadn't heard. I'll get into that. So I reserve the right to report on the convention. Now you say, well, if you're a journalist, you shouldn't report on things that, okay, well, it's disclosed. I have an obvious conflict of interest if I'm covering myself. Yeah, everybody's aware that, yes, I have a bias and I'm going to try to lie to make myself look better. That's so silly. Why would I lie about things that are matters of public record? But and I think it's important to learn from these events. Let me just quickly address a little controversy on Twitter. So, and I have no outline for this podcast. I'm going to do more posts. By the way, so I'm back on Facebook Live. Facebook has been where I've been doing most of my posting because my Twitter account appeared to be shadow banned, like right around the time of the lockdown. Like a lot of my social media appeared to be shadow banned. I don't know. I can't prove it. That's the thing about these things. You can't prove it. They don't exactly tell you that you're shadow banned. But, when you're very active on Twitter and growing, and then all of a sudden you're still active and then not growing, it kind of doesn't make any sense. My sales on Amazon have declined around that time, have never picked up. Now, there's various theories about that. Are people reading, whatever? It's just weird, though, that I'm selling a lot fewer books than I used to sell, even though I'm better known, I have more books, I'm more active. Once the kids were, grown and out of the house, I started to travel more. I've been traveling more. So, in any event, I felt that, got some people here. I felt that Facebook was kind of my home because, I was getting interaction. If you were the last person on earth and you were a writer, you'd probably write just to pass the boredom. But a writer wants to be read, and a podcaster wants to be listened to. Otherwise, what's the point? I could talk to myself. I could just lay in bed and talk to myself. It's kind of silly. It's kind of silly. So I like Facebook. Excuse me. Did have my coffee this morning. No excuse. I like Facebook. I've gotten a lot of interaction, positive. But when I was running for chair, I really had to switch over to Twitter, and I really didn't have time to post everything over on Facebook. So why Twitter? Because that's kind of where the national libertarian scene is. So the point I was going to make, and I'm going to make it now, I've one of the positives arising. I'm not exactly the type of guy to look for consolation prizes when I lose. I'm a very competitive person. And a loss is a loss. It's a bitter loss. I fought very hard to win. I think if I had won, I think I could have very quickly turned the Libertarian Party into a force. And so it's just disappointing but it was a crapshoot. I get into these details as we go along and maybe future podcasts. But I always knew I had a chance to win. Now, the conventional wisdom was, from the beginning, I didn't have a chance to win. And I think that was the smart money all the way to the end. No, and all of a sudden I'm first place on the first ballot. So I think I was vindicated there. But I never assumed I was going to win. I never thought, quote, I was going to win. There was a moment after the first ballot where I thought I was going to win because I was hearing certain things that were going to happen, but those things didn't happen, whatever, blah, 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 blah. So that was disappointing. But it was a crapshoot. It was an expenditure of scarce resources, time, money, energy, family time. And I felt that it was such a huge payoff. Had I won, it was worth it. It was worth it. But nobody tells you what's going to happen in advance. If say God had said, Jim, I'm going to give you a hint. You're going to work really hard. You're going to come close. You're going to lose. I probably wouldn't have done it. And the reason is I have a lot of other projects that I put on hold. Projects that are very important to me. And I'm 68 years old. And, everybody thinks they're going to live forever. I do not believe I'm going to live forever. And so I'm always in a big rush to get these projects done. Well, I'm still healthy, frankly. I'm physically and mentally fit. I feel mentally stronger and sharper than I did 10 years ago because I've made some changes in my diet, and walking is fantastic and grows brain cells. But the point I was leading up to before I digressed, and this is what I'm talking about, I still remember the point. Get on Twitter, because I suddenly have a pretty big Twitter account. I should have 5,000 followers shortly. And it's not just the followers. There's a lot of people that have followers. People have more followers than I do. But I'm getting a lot of interaction. Most of it favorable. Some of it sniping and negative. And, and if somebody expresses something that's critical or negative, hold on a second. Just going by some people. So if somebody, expresses some sort of a critical comment in a civil manner, I will try to reply to it. If they're just being a douche, I'll ignore them. So let's see so one thing I wanted to address, and this is, I'm not sure if I'm going to post this video on Twitter or not. It probably will. So there's a little controversy arose where in the middle of the night, I posted about something that happened at the convention after the vote came in. I lost so I was first on the first ballot. I made a move after that to try to up my position. That move did not pan out. I'm not going to get into that. After the second ballot, there were 3 candidates left. But I was in second place. So I could kind of read the tea leaves at that point, that you would think I would have gotten momentum from being ahead of the first ballot. I didn't. My opponents obviously closed ranks and out-organized me at that point. Because keep in mind, I'm an outsider. This is something I'll get into. I'm really an outsider in the movement for 47 years, but I'm not a national partyarch, whatever you want to call it. Sorry if that's a pejorative term. I'm so sorry. My sincere apologies. So all these people, my opponents, the last 2 opponents, they know each other. They know all the same people and whatever. The one guy endorsed the other guy, and I lost on the third ballot, which is we kind of saw that happening as it unfolded. So. But after that, the two people who had been eliminated had a chance to speak, and me just naively thought that I would have a chance to speak, and I was just going to thank my supporters. That's all, like 30 seconds. But apparently that wasn't part of the protocol. It was just fine. So I was approached by Mark Axon. He said, I'll make a motion for you to thank your supporters, speak. And I said, yeah, okay. I said, it's up to you. I don't feel strongly about it one way or another. But yes, I'll do that. So Mark went up, made a motion to suspend the rules, and it was voted down. So I pointed this out on Twitter, and, I'm a sore loser, I'm this and that. No, this is the point that I was trying to make. Mark Axon, it's really more about, I was more pissed off that Mark Axon was dissed than I was dissed, because I personally didn't care. I was already thanking my supporters. I thanked them on Twitter. I congratulated Evan McMahon personally, immediately on stage. So I was fine. I felt bad that, so Mark Axon, first of all, dear close friend of mine, and I was he and his late wife Becky Akers came to my wedding, and this man has given so much to the Libertarian Party in every conceivable way that you can imagine, and this is what pissed me off. And I said, no class. And that's exactly what I mean. No fucking class. This man has served your party for 40 years. As far as I'm concerned, when a guy like that gets up, or other elder statesmen in the party, you name it, Jim Lark, Jim Turney, and these other people, whether I agree with what they've done over the years or not politically, but my God, show some respect. Anytime a guy like Mark Axon gets up and asks for anything, it should be granted. I mean, this man, forget what he's done for the Libertarian Party. This man is one of the top lawyers in New York City. He doesn't have to be, he could be anywhere. He could be on a beach somewhere. He could be doing hot air balloons in Australia. And he comes to this convention. And that's what pissed me off. Here's what it is. It's just a lack of class. It's a lack of professionalism. It's a lack of loyalty. And how do you have a successful organization without these old-fashioned values? And that's what pissed me off. Plus the fact, not the major point, I think that this was something that was significant and deserves to be reported on. And I reported on it as a reporter. And I understand, people don't know I'm doing that, blah, blah, blah. They know now. I'm telling you now. So that pissed me off considerably. So I'm trying to think. So I got a couple more minutes. I'm not going to bore you to death on this one. So I put out a memo with 27 new ideas to help the party. Now, one of those ideas was vote for me because I am a professional political operative for 47 years. And unlike all of my opponents, I've actually beaten Democrats and Republicans in big-time politics and big-time law. And I pointed that out in my short speech, but very detailed speech at the convention. So, and I'm trying to think of what I should save for another podcast. So, the reason I ran for chair, among other reasons, is that, yes, I have a lot of ideas, and, I could just wake up in the morning and start doing them. But do you know how hard it is to start an organization? I've started organizations several times. It's brutal. You know how hard it is to start a libertarian organization, a political organization that cannot, by definition, bestow favors on people? It's easy to start a Republican organization. It's a graft machine. It's easy to start a Democratic organization. Both these are graft machines. The Libertarian Party is a general interest organization. If we got power, we wouldn't be able to bestow particular favors on individual people. It's extremely difficult. So you could say, yes, analytically, as was done by one of the candidates, why don't you just do this yourself? Well, it's really fucking hard. And so there was an organization, it's still there, without me. There was an organization with an army, a budget. Now, the libertarians talk about, we're in financial trouble. Well, your budget's way bigger than everything I've ever done for the libertarian cause has been on a shoestring. I would love to have access to a budget that big. So you got a budget there, maybe not being spent the right way. We can figure that out. You have an army in the field. You've got this incredibly large national, state, local organization, and then some subsidiary organization. So there was an organization with the resources to carry out my agenda, which I'm first to admit. When I look at my direct citizen action bank account, well, there is no direct citizen action bank account. And if there was, there'd be about $1 in there. So that's why I was running. I needed the resources to execute my ideas. And frankly, the party needed ideas to do something with their resources that they're not doing, frankly. And I'm not going to belabor that. I made all these points on the campaign trail. But what I'm leading up to, and I think I'll close on this because I'm going to resume everything I was doing before. I'm going to, like people say, well, you're not exiting gracefully. I'm not exiting at all. What exiting? What are you talking about? I have some anonymous, poster allegedly from Texas is talking about my exit. I've been in the movement. I've been in the liberty movement for 47 years. Now, I'm not complaining. I'm not asking for sympathy. I jumped in. I was a player in the Democratic Party. I was a player in the Democratic Party. They wanted me to run for councilman at large in 1980, and I was the heavy favorite to win, and I was like 21, okay? I jumped into the Libertarian Party and the Libertarian movement, and I got some very loud people, so I'm just going to step away here. Hold on a second. I love loud talkers. Love loud talkers. So I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm not complaining. I jumped into it head first. I've had every opportunity to jump out, and I didn't for 47 years, and I'm not jumping out now. So, point I was going to make is, again, if you walk, you kind of remember what you were saying 3 minutes ago. I'm going to resume everything I was doing before. I was working on some very high priority projects for me, and I said, look, I'm going to put those aside. This is really important, the chair race, because it's just so much at stake. But now that I did not prevail, I'm going to go back to the projects that I was working on. I'm going to get the podcast back up. I'm going to get the affordability book out. I wanted to get that out. That should be out in June. I'm hoping to have a book party in Nashville, Tennessee, so get your plane tickets ready. I'm going to work on voting with your feet. I had an excellent meeting yesterday. I won't discuss who. Real professional guy who came over to me, said hello at the convention, and we're going to try to work on a project. I'll be vague on the details, but it relates to voting with your feet. Very exciting project. So I will do, my point is I will do more podcasts. I'll talk a little bit more about the convention. I am going to do an after action report, but I will be resuming everything as I was doing before. I did win a very rare legal victory for a gentleman in Attica prison. He's been there for 15 years. He's not released yet. So my next, we worked on it last week, and I'm going to be filing a bail application to get that gentleman out. So everything that I was doing before, which is what have I been doing in the liberty movement? First of all, I devoted my whole law practice to libertarian ideas. Sure, I was trying to make a little bit of money too, but I've litigated 8 of the 10 Bill of Rights. I have, in every opportunity where there was a fork in the road, and I like to think of that Al Pacino scene in Son of a Woman. Every time there was a big decision to make, I made the wrong decision. So every time I had a decision to make in I think I'm going by the Korean War Memorial. I did know some people who fought there, including Jimmy Griffin, mayor of this city, and hate to brag, I was the first person to endorse him in 1977. Point I was going to make, and again, if you walk, it grows brain cells, and you remember what the hell you're going to say. Every fork in the road in my career where there was like, make money as a lawyer or advance the liberty movement, I chose to advance the liberty movement. So I have the libertarian law practice. I have the libertarian books, the libertarian direct action ideas, running for chair. That took 6 months, did not succeed. Learned some lessons from it. There's some positives, for example, the Twitter account. So I'm beginning to ramble a little bit, but I just wanted to give everybody an update, particularly my Facebook friends, because I've ignored you. And the point I want to make, the point I made about Mark Axon, I'm a loyalty person. I remember the people who helped me. I could rattle off probably right now, because I'm a walker, I have a good memory, I could rattle off pretty much everybody who ever helped me in my whole life. And I remember all of you. I'm not Ronald Reagan. He would sit down and write thank you notes. Let's close on this note. Harry Brown was a friend of mine. Close personal friend? No. Did we socialize? No. A good, solid libertarian friend. We had him in Buffalo. I saw him in numerous places. He was kind enough to endorsed my first book, Political Class Dismissed, of which he had read several of the essays on Lou Rockwell, not the original one. Great guy, left us too soon. His wife, Pamela, fabulous. And I tried to remember these people, Roy Childs, Harry Brown, Rothbard, whose voices have been silenced by time. So I had these 4 buttons, extra buttons, and there were these they were all women. I don't know why, and they were, half of them had PhDs. Really, some of these people, members of a group that are villainized often. I'm sorry, excuse me. When you think of the people who have left us. The least I could do, I had 4 extra buttons. I kept one for myself, and I handed out buttons, Harry Brown buttons from 1992, I think, just as the least I could do to thank those people. But I want to close by saying I want to thank everybody who helped me. They did other things, and they traveled. Maybe they didn't want to be there to travel to vote for me, and I want to thank those people. I'll close with this quote from Shakespeare. Evermore's thanks is the exchequer of the poor. So I'm back to everything I was going to do before. I'm not going anywhere, and you're going to hear this big mouth way more than you think you even want to.